Hello and welcome to Parently, where we tap into the unique experiences and perspectives of parents to celebrate the joys and honor the challenges of child rearing. With new interviews each week, this is a podcast for moms and dads seeking an empowering community and a little levity. Now here's your host, Kelsey Higgins.
Hello and welcome to Parently. Today's conversation is part 2 of my discussion with Kate Lundquist. Cancer survivor, 2019. Tell me about how you found out that you had cancer.
I think this is important. I assume a lot of your listeners are women, in that I had just had a baby, our little surprise. Honestly, I didn't even know how it happened because it was such a surprise. Like,
Kate, do you want me to tell you how it happens?
It's like, did we do that? Because I don't recall. I mean, I had 5 little kids, 5 school-age kids at the time, and like, were they all in school? Yeah, they had all just started school, and it was kind of like this, like, all right, we're in this next chapter, 5 of them. And then by Christmas, it was like, oh man, what's happening? So had the baby, had our little daughter, who's apple of our eye, August of 2018. And nursing her was surprisingly difficult this time. I was older, recovery from, we had a home water birth. It was my dream come true.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was great. And then, but like recovery took a little longer. I was just a little more tired. Nursing was difficult. And then, and I'm still trying to manage like my business I had at the time and the 5 kids. I think I was just doing too much. And with nursing being difficult, I was continuously like kind of pushing on my breasts to, keep this milk coming, come on. Well, by that spring, she was maybe around 5 months old, I found a lump, which is common when you're nursing, which people need to know. Like, if you find any changes in your breasts ever, tell your doctor. And if they tell you it's nothing, ask somebody else, or insist on further. Like, okay, prove it to me that it's nothing. Let's get a biopsy. Let's ultrasound this shit because it's just too risky. Thankfully, I had a very good nurse practitioner who said, yeah, it shouldn't be there. It's not a clog. I knew it wasn't a clogged duct. It wasn't moving with nothing, and it was just there. I ended up taking a really special trip with my dad. And then when I got home, I got the results. No, I went and got a biopsy and got the results. And it was the most aggressive kind of breast cancer you can have, triple negative, grade 3, they call it. So there's grades of 1, 2, and 3. I had grade 3 as most aggressive. And by the time I started treatment, it had probably doubled in size. I mean, it was just huge.
Wow.
So had I not had my daughter, had I not struggled with breastfeeding, had I not had a doctor that took action right away, triple negative is a beast, and it's terrible. And my mom is a nurse, and she was just beside herself because she did the research. It's tough. However, when caught early, and treated appropriately, treatment is highly effective. So there's a lot I could say about the breast cancer journey, but it was a lot. It was about 6 months of my life where I just had to focus on survival. And
with a baby
on my hip. And I didn't know if I had, you have to wait for these results and wait for, if it has spread, you don't know if it's spread. And I just remember going to the grocery, you just are in this numb phase. And I remember going to the grocery store and being so overwhelmed. I saw old people shopping, and I thought, they're so lucky to be old. I was probably 37, 38 years old. I'm like, they're old and they're so fortunate. So like, that's sad, and it's like encouraging too. It's like all of a sudden nothing is taken for granted. Felt like I had these cancer-colored glasses on, and I like looked at my children differently, playing in the grass, swinging on the swings, that it was like this old movie in my eyes. Like, I'm cherishing this right now. And I also was overwhelmed in the grocery store because I'm like, what caused this? Like, why do I have this? Why me in my 30s? Why do I have breast cancer? Like, this was not my story. This was not supposed to happen. Like, why me? And is it the food I'm eating? Did I do something wrong? Like I've been pregnant and breastfeeding most of my adult life, it feels like. This was not supposed to happen to me. So clearly, what if it's this food that I'm eating and now I'm supposed to shop for this food and bring it home to my family? It was a very overwhelming feeling. Thankfully, it hadn't spread to my lymph nodes, which if it had spread there, it was very likely to have spread other places. I went through 16 rounds of chemo, lost my hair. I had to move in with my parents essentially for that summer. You know, talking to my kids about mom having cancer, that was another hurdle. I was almost more sad about that, having to tell them that, and more fearful of that than the actual cancer itself. And going through the treatment, traveling back and forth 5 hours from home to Duluth with my parents. I chose to get treatment and surgery in Duluth. And then after I recovered from the chemotherapy, you heal for a few months and then you have a lot of surgical options. And I chose to have the double mastectomy. I swear I could have a master's degree in it all because I researched it like crazy. I'm sorry, but like if I was going to have this done to me, I was going to get an upgrade. And I was like, I want the best doctors. I was like, we're going to like, having a mastectomy is not glamorous, but I was like, we're going to make it as glamorous as we can.
I love that.
Yeah.
Great.
So I found some great surgeons and I love them dearly. Yeah.
That's amazing. Too bad you're wearing a coat.
And no bra either. Like you don't even have to wear a bra most of the time. It's just great. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
but you were married when all this was
Yeah.
happening. How was Jake showing up for you during that?
yeah. I've said to Jake, there were a couple times in our entire marriage where I knew, like without a doubt, that man was so in love with me. And I remember walking down the aisle and seeing him and the way that he looked at me from the end of the aisle. That man loves me. There were times in childbirth and the labor process and things like that where I was like, that man loves me. And when I got my cancer diagnosis, I was home with the kids, with Vera, my baby, and I called him, and he worked 20 minutes away. And I swear that man was in our house in 10 minutes. Like, he was there. It just came on through. And it's almost, I can't describe what it feels like to get a cancer diagnosis. I made my doctor tell me over the phone. I was like, tell me now. You know, she wanted me to come in. I was like, no, tell me now. Baby's sleeping. Like, I want to know. And she told me. And it's just like hollowing. And you just become a shell of yourself for a minute. And I just remember sitting in the living room with Jake and looking at him and catching the way he was looking at me. And it was the same way that he looked at me at the end of the aisle years before. That man loves me. And so he was a great dad and a support. But we also there weren't the different family leave things that there are now. There was FMLA, but it was unpaid, I believe. And so now we have this great Family Medical Leave Act, or the paid. Yeah, but he had to keep working in northern Minnesota. I had to take the kids. So my cancer was almost the beginning of the end, because any cracks that we did have just really became probably gradually further and further in this process. When I got diagnosed, it was like, wow, you only live once. I'm going to step into who I really am. I'm going to become like the truest Kate that I know how to be. Well, that looked different too. That's hard. I became just a little louder, a little more bold, a little braver, a little more outspoken about things. If I'm going to go down, I'm going to say what I want to say.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm going to start doing the things I want to do. And that looks really weird to people on the outside sometimes. The way that I coped, it was just, I wanted to just be with people. It's the same thing I do now. I love to be in community with people. I have to tell people stories, just like you are doing. But I don't know, it was a lot. So he was great. But, the reality of it is, and we talk very openly about this, he really couldn't be with me for any treatments. He could help me with, like, surgical recoveries. and he did that great. But it was almost a time that like we almost couldn't go through it together because of the work situation. I was getting treatment farther away. He was back home working. And so that was really hard. But he showed up when he could.
And how long after that did you two decide to get a divorce?
Yeah, there was so much happening. So it's like I finally recovered from the surgery, and then the pandemic started.
Oh gosh, rolled right into the
Just
pandemic.
rolled right in. And I think that was hard and good for a lot of families. I do think a lot of like divorces came out of it because
There were.
Yeah, and a lot of like life changes for us. It showed me so much as far as like, oh, look at us isolated in our home. Like maybe I'm leaving this community that I love so much. Like the things that I'm tied to, maybe I'm not really tied to that close. Like we're okay just being us wherever we are. We're so isolated, and seeing like companies lay off people because that was what was best for the company. It was like, oh, these organizations and these businesses that we feel obligated to, maybe we don't have to feel so obligated because it's just an employee. Like people are being let go.
We're replaceable.
Yeah, we're replaceable. So the pandemic happened, and then George Floyd was murdered, and we moved. And Jake and I have talked about like our life was like this really crazy treadmill, and it just never stopped. It was like we had to do all these things while running this race, this life race. And we chose to have 6 kids. And we chose to like, we just did so much together on our own. Like we didn't have a whole ton. We have great parents, but they also lived far away. We just didn't have support. We lived in a community where everybody was related, except we weren't related to anybody. And we just didn't have those like support roles. So we were just constantly on, constantly stressed, constantly just like getting through our days. And it was good, but it was work. It's like that's, I think, with parenting, this is wonderful, beautiful things, children that we care for and love, but it is work. And we fail to recognize like that we do need support or breaks from time to time. But what was the question? It was like,
how long
to the divorce?
you're on this treadmill.
On the treadmill.
Things are getting crazy.
We make major life decisions over text messages. I mean, I just remember thinking, like, look at all these things that we are deciding over text because that's our only opportunity to connect.
Otherwise, you're surrounded by kids.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yes, and I, like, co-slept, and that was important to me. And, it just didn't... We moved to the Twin Cities. We were very happy, but his career, my things, and what we say about that is, like, cancer gave me an opportunity to step into who I really was. And it felt so good. I overcame so much, like, deep depression and anxiety, being able to, like, come into confidence about being who I truly am as somebody who has big feelings about a lot of things and wants to advocate and be a helper. I got to do that in the Twin Cities by helping people. I mostly helped people of color get into office, managing their campaigns, things like that. I got to, like, use my skills to uplift others. That's all I've wanted in life, is to teach and inspire and, like, just help to make the world a better place. So here I am in the Twin Cities living my best life. I've arrived. I'm so happy. And something in Jake was not able to do that for himself. He was still trying to find out who he was in our late 30s, 40-ish. We just started to turn 40 is when we moved here. So I didn't recognize that he hadn't landed that yet. And it started to just slowly wear on him. He'll fully admit, like, he started taking things out on me that weren't mine to carry. I was working overtime trying to keep this family unified and happy and functional. And meanwhile, he had other business things he was pursuing. He found ways to be kind of not present. Then I started finding ways to be not present. We stopped communicating, stopped sleeping in the same room. You snore, go sleep over there. Things like that. We just stopped being the family that we had been rooted in. And I thought it was my fault. I thought cancer took from me my marriage. I thought my marriage was like a sacrifice of surviving cancer. There were also times where I thought, I think I cheated the system. I think I was supposed to die. Like, because my marriage is shit right now. And like, maybe I just twisted fate by surviving. I was supposed to die while we were good. And then he could have been with somebody new by now.
Aww.
And everything was me. We're not having sex because of me. Like, it's all my fault. And like, I really carried it. And I just, if you look at pictures from me back then, I was very puffy. I was very, what's the word, inflamed. I didn't realize, I just was so stressed. Cancer had taken a lot from me. My ovaries were taken. I was forced into menopause. I gained weight. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel like my fun and like spunky self. And so again, all of that, it felt like I just blamed myself. And at the same time, I was just really angry at Jake for a lot. Like, why can't we be better? Like, he wanted to do therapy. Surprisingly, I was like super uncomfortable with that.
Oh.
I was like, why can't we just be friends? Like, can't we just be functional and like just raise a family? Like, why do we have to talk about it? Which is kind of a backwards situation, but it got bad enough where I started to see it affect the kids. And it started to really stress out our older kids. And I also, so Jake was really great. He's like, here's a few therapists. Which one looks most comfortable to you? Started therapy. And that was just kind of like a cycle of like bicycle, like almost like wheels that kept spinning, but almost didn't get anywhere. It was like a really temporary, like I always enjoyed the connection. But it was almost like a temporary fix or like a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. There was just something that wasn't getting better. We went a couple times together, then the therapist chose to really work strategically with Jake. And then I came back in after a few months, which I don't think that's best practice because it was a mess. But okay. But there was just something that wasn't resolved. And so one day it just got really bad. And I just said, we just finally started to say the D word. And it was like it was just like the word cancer. I couldn't even form my mouth around that word at first because it was so devastating. Divorce was the same way. And I wanted to avoid it so bad because we were taught, like my parents have been married 50 years. Both my sisters are still married to their first husbands. Like they're like divorce. My grandparents, I have one grandma who had experienced divorce, but that was like super justified. So like I knew success equaled marriage longevity. And maybe that is the same way that baby boomers all stayed in the same career for a long time. That was success back then. Nowadays, I'm not saying people should be bouncing around with like spouses, but I think we as a culture are starting to realize like maybe these decisions that we made when we were 20 years old aren't always going to work for us at 45. Because life does shift, and ideally it works. But we got to the point where it was just, I let him have some time away. Why don't you go think about what you want? And he came back and just said, I'm ready to do this again. I was like, okay, let's keep trying. And honestly, I was to a point where whatever he said when he came back, I would have been okay with. Well, it was like a cycle. Okay, it's going to be great. We can do this again. And then a few weeks later, here we are again feeling real frustrated. And the same patterns keep coming back up. And so we talked again. And as we started to talk about divorce, he became probably the most vulnerable he'd ever been in his life. And he just started sharing little things, tiny hints, little tidbits. And I know him well enough, I started to collect the pieces. It was like a puzzle. And I'll never forget just sitting down with him, looking across at him. And I think I said it, I tried to like pad the heaviness of the question in a way, so I made it a little crude. But essentially, I said, is it possible that you're not entirely straight. And he looked at me, I just, again, dead in the eye, and he just, it's possible. It's okay. And here we are, 6 kids running around, neighbors coming over, like, and we're just like having this big life moment. It's like,
wow.
I was like, all right. And in that moment, it was like a genie from a bottle. Like Ariel got her legs. Like I was like, we have it. Like the answer. This is what, like the pea under the mattress, if you know that, like that fairy tale. Like this is what has been our hurt. Like the elephant in the room that we had no idea was there. It's possible, he said. All right, let's figure this out. And I'm here for you. And I said, the pictures on the wall will never change, Jake. Like, what we have built together will never change. We have built something so special and beautiful. And you staying in this situation the way that we know it is not healthy for anybody anymore. And this weight that lifted off of me, I knew. I was like, I started to heal in that moment, that heaviness that I'd been carrying for a few years. And we just have like linked arms, became best friends again, and just really dedicated ourselves to like serving each other. What do you need? What do you need? Like, we're almost like maintaining our vows better now than we ever have before. And so when people on the internet or whatever call us failures or you know, whatever, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't faze me because we are doing exactly the right thing for our kids. I've seen them become more free and more, like living with us the way we had been was stressful. And again, really starting to wear on them. So I look at Christmas video from 2023 and I look at Christmas video from 2025 and it is 2 different families. One was really heavy, uptight, me trying to keep it all together and make it look good and be good, and everybody's just heavy. Unhappy, I would say. And then this year we're just bright, vibrant, happy, joyful, functional, the way it should be. We're just a modern family now. So that's ultimately what led to our divorce and our divorce hug. So our security camera, when we really just dedicated ourselves to like moving forward with divorce in a very casual conversation on our deck that day. And I got up and I could see the fear in his eyes and the concern and like, what is this going to look like? This is so scary. And we stood up and I gave him a big hug and he just kind of like melted into it. And I said, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Like, we've got this. And I later just like pulled up our security footage. I was like, oh my gosh, the hug. It, like, we got that moment. It took months, but we eventually shared it. And 62 million views later. Like,
you went viral.
Yeah, like viral on viral. And
wow.
so we have a whole Instagram account dedicated to the story of our love, our marriage, and what it looks like to come out of the closet in a marriage. And then when I was going through divorce, there weren't any accounts that I found that were relatable to what I was feeling. I'm like, well, I am a storyteller. I love social media. I'm going to just put this out there. And I just didn't. Divorce is, people have all sorts of reactions to it. So I think that's probably why it went viral. It's all of 14 seconds. But it just went out there. And Instagram really pushed it. They must have just been like, let's get this out to everybody. But
look at this crazy moment.
Yeah, so now we have this great little following on Instagram, TikTok, a little bit on Facebook. And I just share what feels good. And we've done some recordings like this where we just talk about what that was like for each of us to go through and share that out in little pieces. And I think I know it's been helpful for a lot of people. And I get messages from all around the world. This happened to me too. And so, yeah.
Where can people find you?
Kate and Jake Coming Out.
Kate and Jake Coming Out.
On Instagram, TikTok. We also have Facebook. Kate and Jake Coming Out, if they look that up.
I have a question that I'm sure you get asked.
Yeah, anything.
You were married for 21 years.
Mm-hmm.
You had no inkling that he
Yeah.
wasn't
Common question.
straight.
No idea. I knew him as somebody like so caring. Liked nice clothes. And he super artistic.
You had a healthy sex life.
Yeah, as healthy as two kids from purity culture from the 90s could have, who waited till marriage to have sex. That was all fine as we knew it. I had no idea. And he's shared about this before too, but he, at one point, being an LGBTQ advocate has been important to me for my whole life. But so when we were dating, I said, what would you do if one of our kids was gay? And he said, well, I would kill myself. And he just said it so flippantly. I was like, hold up. That is not okay. And he was like, you're right. And maybe I should have known in that moment. And because I think people think he had kept the secret from me for all these years. That was not the case. He kept that secret from himself. I think he was taught by church and his community, and I don't know what his parents put in for values, but that was what he was taught to say. That was the response that kept him safe. And so I have all the grace for that. And so that's what I try to remember when people have nasty comments for us, which are far and few between, but they're there, and I know they exist. And it's just that's what he thought, and he quickly changed the tune when he knew that with me, it was safe to not feel that way. So, and we, by the time we were having our first baby, we went to, protests at the state capitol to argue for the legalization of same-sex marriage, things like that. But through it all, no doubt, we were just like this. And so that's the other thing I just should clarify too, is he was with me, and that's fine. So when he came out, people assume oh, he's gay. Well, there's also queer. And so there's this huge spectrum of gender and sexuality. And Jake didn't know where he landed, but like I said, he knew he wasn't straight. And so I think just being with me, that was a great chapter in his life. But I think, again, to be who he truly is meant to be and feel satisfied in all the ways that you can feel satisfied in life. And for me too, we needed to move on. So yeah, I had no idea. And I don't think anybody did. He was just a really, there are little things that I can look back on, but it's just because Jake is great. In our little town, it was very rebellious, but our theater had Sex and the City movie play.
Oh, scandalous.
Scandalous. I know, it was so crazy, and packed full of women. Jacob was the only man, but that was because we loved that show together.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that he's himself, now I look at him, I'm like, there you are. He's just changed. When we got divorced, he was scruffy, he was overweight, just depressed. He had all the same inflammation that I told you that I had. We were just living in stress, and he wasn't himself, and he just quickly just became this brighter, healthier, happier version of himself, and therefore a better co-parent with me. We're best friends, and he's a great parent to our kids. And he's weekly therapy, and it's been almost 2 years now, which is crazy. It'll be 2 years this spring.
I love a divorce success story.
Yeah. Ours is one.
So 2 years. I'm going to wrap us up, but before I do, have you started dating?
Yeah.
What's that like these days?
I remember my divorce announcement, and I was like, I'm going to take some time, find out who I am. No, I did not. I was alone. I had been in Jake and I had been truly separated. It felt for a year,
Sure.
couple of years.
Yeah.
I was ready. I was just bat out of hell. It's not even, if you know, you know. I was so ready. So Jake had experimented with some apps. So he sat down with me. He's like, you need to make a Tinder profile. And I was like, okay. I get on Tinder. I was like, what? I just felt like so overwhelmed. Jake and I had been dating, the only people we'd been with since like age 19.
That's wild.
Here we are at 43, 42 years old, trying to like get into this new this dating culture. I was very optimistic, yet also like, I don't know. It was crazy. I just felt really ready to get out there. So yeah, I started dating that summer, like right away. And and I'll just say this, like Jake and I only knew from our 90s purity culture, you date with the intention of long-term. You date with the intention of marriage and long-term. That is all we knew. So if somebody like wanted to go on a date with me, I was like, okay, clearly they're looking for a long-term part. That's not the
This
case
person
anymore.
wants to marry me, obviously.
Right. We're just like, if things go well, like, okay, how can I put bunk beds down in this bedroom for their kids? Like, my brain would go there real fast.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That is not a thing. It is much more casual. And there are people who are truly looking for matches, but it is really almost just, you have to almost think of it like a social opportunity. Think of it like friendship in a way. Apps were hit and miss. I went on a lot of dates through apps, but truly what really was great was like the different singles groups that happen, a lot of like fun speed dating activities. I'm a really social, outgoing person, so like all those things are super fun for me. But had just a couple like short-term, very short relationships where one didn't work for him, one didn't work for me, and then I spent time doing in a singles group, just going to different. The first singles event I went to was at like a Buffalo Wild Wings, and there were three couples that formed from that group. I dated somebody, and then there were two other couples. All of them faded, but the three couples kind of like kept in touch, and like we'd become Facebook friends. Well, one of the guys who had dated a friend of mine, he and I stayed Facebook friends, and we saw each other at a different event months later and just kind of kept in touch. He reached out when I was going through a hard time after Melissa Hortman was killed in June last summer. And at the end of the summer, we got together, just the two of us, and we've been hanging out ever since. I never thought of him like that.
Is it official?
It is official. Like, I have a boyfriend.
Does that feel weird?
It is crazy.
A
just to even see
boyfriend?
that. Yeah. The dating culture, like, really almost, like, hardened me. Like, I came out, like skipping. Like, hey, I'm here. This is going to be great. And then it was, like, it's like brick wall. Like, oh, you people out here are so unserious.
Yeah.
And this is crazy. I had a lot of fun, but it was also crazy.
Sure.
And so when I was almost like really adverse to the idea of anything. Like, I spent all summer single. Jake and I called it our single summer. Like, we just really became like we did that work on ourselves that like we always, like, people say you should do. We're like, I like being single. Like, this is great. I can do what I want on my weekend. Yeah, this is wonderful. At the end of the summer, I got together with this friend, and we had a really good time. And I thought, I wouldn't mind seeing him again. And so we got together again and again. And he said to me finally, what is this, Kate? Like, are we dating? And I was like, I was like become so adverse to that thought. Like, I don't like commitment and all this. I'm just not comfortable. I'm like, can we say seeing each other? Like, I was just every step of this way, I've kind of like dug my heels in, which he's been so patient. And there's still things from my marriage and divorce that I'm healing that I didn't even realize were still there. But he's just been like, just so great every step of the way. And we fell in love. I finally said, okay, I'm going to introduce you as my boyfriend. Like, we talk about cancer being hard to say, divorce being hard to say. Boyfriend was really hard for me to say.
Totally.
Especially at 44.
Yeah.
Like, can I just...
Is there like a more
friend?
serious word? Yeah.
Partner feels really serious, but it's been almost 6 months now, so we just are enjoying each other, and I see him on my weekends off, and he's really great about coming. I get a weekday off every week. He'll come see me, and we're just day by day. So
Amazing.
He actually hates it when I say day by day, but
Oh.
because it's
Because he's like, no, I want the bunk beds in the basement.
yeah, he's kind of there, and I'm just like, let's just keep enjoying each other and see where this goes. Like, so
Congratulations.
thank
That's
you
exciting.
so much. Yeah,
Kate, I feel like we've been all over
yeah,
the world.
yeah.
You've
Thank
lived,
you for
you've lived a
listening.
life. You've lived a life,
I
and you have a
lived so
lot
much.
left.
I do.
I can't
Yeah.
wait to see what happens next.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk about it and reflect on it. It's always good for me too. So thank you.
Is there anything that I didn't ask or anything you just wanted to make sure that you shared today that we didn't get to? Because I know there's a lot of depth in all of
Yeah.
the different topics that we went through.
Well, this is a parenting podcast, and just last night I had a really tender conversation with my 19-year-old daughter, our oldest, and this is, again, it doesn't really have to do with anything else, but it is in regards to parenting, and it's fresh on my mind, and it might serve parents who are going through like the teenage years. But she tearfully said to me, "I'm just so sorry, Mom, for those years where I was so difficult."
Oh,
Yeah. And, you know, we go through these trials, and I just said, "Oh, honey," I grabbed her hand and put my arm around her, and I just said, "I never stopped loving you. You know, I loved you even more through those times. Like, nothing you have done or said or acted like, nothing ever phased, like, yes, those things can be hard to experience, but like, I loved you fiercely through it all." And I shared stories about how much I loved her the minute she was born, and how tender and special that was for me, and like, and just really reminded her of just like how much she means to me. And then at the same time, I said, and in return, I want you to recognize that I made mistakes, and my intention was always just to be the best mom for you. And I can see how even with the best of intentions and the best of efforts, that I fell short. You experienced really hard things. You had to experience a big move at a tender time in your childhood. You had to experience your mom getting cancer at an age where you'll always remember that. And having to take that whole summer away from your friends, moving, a divorce, living those years of your parents' failing marriage. Of course that was a hard time for you. And I want to take responsibility for any pain that I may have caused you too. So I'm sorry too. And I just really encouraged her to take any guilt that she was feeling, stuff it into a jar, and throw it out. And she just said, "I really needed that." So,
what a beautiful moment.
yeah,
How cool to watch your children become adults.
it's amazing. It is so great.
I'm certainly not wishing away my kids' younger years, but like, that's cool. That's like a different level.
It's like seeing how a flower blooms. It's like, oh, wow. Like I used to always say I have 5 little kids, and now I'm like, I have 5 big kids. And then our little one. But they're big, and they're becoming adults and making big decisions, and and then being able to have adult conversation is really unique and special. And that's, I think, what I'm really cherishing right now. And being able to have these very healing conversations too. And yeah, it's been good.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
You've been a wonderful guest, Kate.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like we just kept going and going,
For
but I
sure.
got
Like I told you, I have so much to say. So thank you for your patience.
I hope that you start up your podcast.
Yes, we should. I should absolutely.
You got a lot to say. You got a lot to share.
I'll write a book someday.
I'll buy it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to all of the listeners, thank you for joining today. I invite you to tune in again next week for another insightful conversation. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. See you next time.